Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I have an interesting review, impressions if you will, of a knife I've had in my collection for quite a while that I've really enjoyed. It's one of my favorite knives and it's really a great deal. This is a We Knives Saakshi, S-A-A-K-S-H-I, Saakshi. Definitely an interesting knife that I really like. This is in Jade G10, which makes this knife very economical and very affordable. These are the Jade G10 scales. I've always gotten this knife with the intention I was going to dye the scales a certain color. I'm either going to try a red or maybe a black or something like that at some point. I've always been my intention, but I want to test first on other G10 to make sure I understand I'm doing it correctly, because I like this knife so much. The black titanium liners look so nice with the jade green G10, I think. So that's really nice. Everything about this knife is a great deal. This is a We knife, obviously. It's not one of the CVV brands, so this is a titanium liners. This is a titanium deep milled pocket carry clip. It does have a kind of a loop. It's got a little bit of a clip here. It's not too terribly bad. I like that. It is a flipper, as you can see, which has some jimping on it, so it definitely works really well. It has a fuller on here that's very functional for reverse flicking, both left and right-handed. So you can easily reverse flick it. Now, here's the thing. I think this is considered a line, even though it is a liner lock, it is a, if you take off these liners, this would be a full frame lock, because you can see it's cut out over here, bent here. It's not part of the, it is the liner, but it really acts more like a frame, right? So it's a titanium frame with some G10 scales on there, and the scales are contoured, so it would be a very thin knife without that, obviously. But you know, I don't know what you would consider that. I mean, I know people would call that, it would be a bolster lock if part of it was exposed. It'd be a liner lock because it's underneath, but it's a subframe liner frame, subframe liner bolster liner lock, whatever, frame bolster liner lock. I don't know what you want to call that, but to me, it is everything that you would want in a frame lock, but it's like a liner lock. And to me, it's perfect. I really like it. Very easy access. As you can see, there's a little cutaway, so you can get there very easily. There's plenty of room in here to get in, and it is chamfered a little bit, just enough so I can get in there to push down. So there's no issue with getting into that. It does drop really well, and the action is beautiful. Now, I did put Skiff's cage ceramic bearings in this particular knife, and I don't recall what they were. I think I have a video somewhere on it. If you're interested, you maybe leave a comment down below and I'll try to respond to you there with that, but or at least I'll put it in the description as well if there's some interest in that. But the price for this knife and the materials you get is really great. I'll talk about that in my overall thoughts when I get to it, but I think you're going to be very well pleased with this. It does have some standoffs. It has a little simple pin here that could work well for your lanyard if you wanted to use it for that. So that's really nice. Again, material, it's CPM 20 CV, so it's a really nice premium steel, and you can barely see that right there, CPM 20 CV, right? Very well hidden. There's no billboarding on here, so that's really nice. Very thin blade. Comes up to a very thin edge, very sharp edge, which is really nice. That's a very minimal blade on this one, but it's very sharp, but it's also very thin blade, so it doesn't have to be a huge long edge. But as thin as this is, which it is very thin down here, it's a beautiful slicer, flat grind all the way up to the top. And like I said, with the Skiff cage ceramic ball bearings in there, the action on this is just simply wonderful. Yeah, so there's just a lot to like about this. The flipping works really well, and the reverse flicking works really well. So those are all great. The lock, again, it is technically, I guess you'd call it a liner lock. It looks like it's definitely locks up to a good 20%, I'm going to say. Yeah, about 20%. It is solid and no blade rock. You click it in here, you can see the detent kind of clicks in. There you go. There's no detent rock or lash or anything in there, so it works really well. And the flipper works really nicely. It does flip excellently. And then the reverse flick works really well. This fuller has enough catch on here so that I can use my meat of my finger or even my nail to do the reverse flick, and it works really well on both sides, right? I'm not a lefty, but it's very easy for me to, very easy for me to use that over here. Now, it's not a reverse. It's a right hand tip up only type of carry. I mean, I guess they missed out on doing the left-handed over here. Very minimal hardware. You got 2 screws here, and then you have the 2 screws over here, the 1 screw for the pivot, and then the 2 screws for the deep milled pocket carry clip. So this one really has 4 screws, 5 screws over here, and this one only has 2. Very minimal, but it is contoured. Everything about it is really nice. So the lock works well. It's easy to get to. There's plenty of room here. It's not very, very tight. And there is a little bit of cutaway, as you can see. So it just sticks out a little bit. It's very easy to get to push over, and it drops really nicely. And very comfortable. This is rounded, but it's got some jimping, so you have some traction, which makes it work really, really nice, I think. I like that. So that's the lock. So let's go ahead and do some measurements on this. All right, let's see what the weight on this knife is. Oh, we have to zero. Wonder why. Okay. All right, so 3.2 ounces. That's not bad at all. 3.2 ounces on this knife. Let's go ahead and measure the length on the blade. All right, 3.2 ounces, and it looks like the blade length is going to be probably 3¼ inches. So we're probably almost at 3.2 inches on the blade, the actual blade length. And if we go to there, we're probably about, I'm going to say 3 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch, a little more, a little bigger than a quarter for sure, right? So it's 3 3/8, definitely a little closer up there. So that's relatively nice as far as blade length. Let's look at the handle. So the grip area is going to be about 3.5 to maybe 3.3, and I want to say 5/8 of an inch, right? But if you choke up, which you can do, you're going to give yourself almost 4 inches. So you can choke up on this. I wouldn't choke up real tight, but you can hold here well, put your finger in here, and the jimping is nice that I can hold my hand in place for a push cut or a precision cut. So that's nice. But you will see that the sharpening choil is right here, and that will get in your way. I wish that was a little flatter over here, because you're definitely going to probably hit that little part right there and get a smile going, right, on the sharpening choil. So anyways, still really nice. I have yet to need to sharpen this because I just strap it on my leather strap, and it keeps it really, really nicely sharp. So that's the measurements. Let's go ahead and do the blade stock thickness on this. As you can see, it's nice, lined up well. Oops, make sure we're zeroed. All right, I didn't want to zero there for a second. All right, so let's go ahead and get the measurement there. So we're 1.26 inches, so 126 hundredths of an inch. A little over 1/10 of an inch, definitely closer to 1/10 than 2/10 of an inch, but it's, you know, a fairly normal blade stock thickness, which is nice. Pretty robust for such a thin, smaller knife. I like this knife. I have medium to medium large hands. I've got plenty of room here. They're large and width-wise because they're kind of meaty fingers. They're a medium lengthwise, so I have room. I think a large, extra large could probably fit this well, and if you choke up, you could probably do a XX to 3X if you're willing to choke up and you have enough room up here and you're comfortable choking up here this close. But otherwise, yeah, any larger hands than this, you're going to feel this might be too small, but it fits my hand really nicely. There's no hot spots. This clip works really well. I can squeeze hard on here and it's not hurting at all. I do like that a lot. So yeah, blade thickness, you know, measurements, all that stuff is really nice. Knife category. Well, this knife was, when I bought it, was around 150, 160 bucks. So this definitely puts it into the regular range, between $100 and $250. It's a really great knife. It is definitely a We, and it's titanium liners, it's titanium clip, titanium hardware back spacers, and it's a CPM 20 CV blade steel, which works really nice, very thin slicer, goes flat grind all the way down, has a fuller, just multiple deployments, which makes this really, really a lot of fun and a great deal at a regular price. Definitely not a high-end, definitely not a budget knife, but I think the value that you get out of this is fantastic. And I gotta tell you, I like the aesthetic of this knife. I know some people say this is boring, blah, blah, blah. You can get a carbon fiber one, about 190 bucks, 180 to 190 bucks. Probably might be a little nicer if you like that. I've always, like I said, had the intention of dyeing this Jade Green G10 scale, which basically this is a blank slate, if you will, on G10. This is what G10 looks like without any color dyes in it. So you can dye this like, you know, with some of those pigment dyes. I have one orange one that I got for Christmas I'm planning to do on a couple of knives, so I need to try that, all right? That's what was my intention, but if you want carbon fiber, you can definitely do that. I think it's a great deal. Even at the carbon fiber version, it's still going to be a regular price. It's not going to go into the high end, but everything you get for this, I think, is fantastic. You know, I put Skiff Cade ceramic ball bearing washers in here, which made the action even more beautiful. Purpose of this knife, EDC every day. I think it could be a hard use. Everything, all the materials is really solid on this. I mean, it is a, whoops, oh, I just knocked my finger over here, boy. Whew. that was dumb. Anyways, this is a skiff. I'm sorry. What's the purpose? The purpose is what would I do with this? I mean, it's everyday use. EDC can definitely do anything from cutting envelopes, cutting boxes. I think it's really great. I wouldn't go and try to pry anything. It comes to a very, very thin tip, as you can see up here. You can see, let's get it on the camera. There's a tip, very, very nice and thick, which is great for poking into boxes, letters, you know, dog food, cat food will work really, really well into that. I think you'll really, really enjoy that. That works nicely, but if you're going to try to pry and cut into something really heavy, heavy duty, you might be disappointed. You might want a more robust knife. I would definitely maybe advise that, or even a fixed blade. But I think for everyday purpose of everything that you're going to do, or most 95% of people are going to do, I think this is a great blade. And probably even for those folks, another good 3 or 4% until you get to that 1% of people who are pretty extreme, right? You're getting into that, you might want to get yourself a gigantic, you know, fixed blade. But I think it's great. EDC, it's very functional, very useful. It can definitely do what I would consider hard use for myself. I would have no problem with that. And the cost makes this very, very feasible to do that. All right, let's talk a little bit about the ergos and feel. So the ergos and feel on this knife are fantastic. These are contoured G10 scales, makes it very comfortable in hand. It wraps around. There's all sorts of chamfering here. It's all rounded. There's no uncomfortable hot spot. Even the frame lock is nice and rounded here, very comfortable to open and close. My hands never get tired using this knife, so I really like the handle, the design. Very comfortable choking up. Got the jimping, really keep my hands secure there. Everything about that is nice. Deployment is sweet. It is like butter, right? So the deployment to reverse flick works really well. I can even right flick it with my finger onto that fuller and here, and then left-handed works really nicely as well, and works. I think I can do it here. Yeah, I can do that as well, and I can do the flipper, obviously. So all that works really, really, really nicely on this knife. Definitely highly recommend that. The deployment is just really fantastic. Everything. There's no thumb stud, but it is a fuller. The flipper works great. The jimping is just perfect for that. You can do the push button one where it works really well, and you can do the light switch one that works really well. So all those are really nice. Closing is excellent because of the Skiff Cage ceramic ball bearing. It's almost drop shut. It's not quite there, but it does just a giant little bit of shake, and it goes down smooth. But it is a smooth close. I can definitely feel with those Skiff washers, it's definitely a smooth, really nice closing. The action's great. Fidget factor. Well, this is one of my favorite knives to fidget with. For some reason, even though it's not the most expensive, it's not the most elaborate knife that I have, I really come back to this knife quite often and fidget with this. I would give this knife, and you're probably going to totally disagree with me, and that's fine, but I'm going to give this an 8.5, almost a 9 on fidget factor, because I love to fidget with this knife so much. The way it does the fuller is perfect. The way I can use the fuller, now I don't normally do the front flick like that with the fuller, but I mean, I always use the back and then the flipper are just so nice. And then the close and deployment and action is just so fantastic. It works and it works well. It may be a basic design, it may be simple, but sometimes simple to execute it well is really just nice. And they do that. So fidget factor for me is an 8.5 on this knife. I really like it. Overall thoughts? I like this knife. I like this knife a lot. It's definitely going to be in my recommended knives. It's definitely not a budget knife, so it's not going to be in my budget realm, but it's definitely in my recommended knives. So you'll see that in there, and I will absolutely not, change my mind on that, because I still think no matter what, this is a great recommended knife. And I think if you can get a hold of one of these, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised if it's the right size for you. And if you enjoy flippers, and if you enjoy fullers and reverse flicking, you will enjoy that. Now, if for some reason you have, like, Shaquille O'Neal hands, you're not going to like this. And if you somehow have little, miniature, I don't know, the Keebler elves, from the cookies, you're probably not going to like this knife. It's going to be too big, right? So if you're somewhere in the middle, somewhere normal, I think you will really enjoy this knife. It's really, really nice. I highly recommend it, and I think if you can find one of these, get one. I think it's a nice little sleeper. Just everything's so nice about it, and it's surprising, and it's simple, but it's done well. And sometimes when you do something simple and well, I don't know, it's just really nice. So that's my thoughts on that. if you've ever had this knife or you disagree with me, feel free to comment down below. If you have any questions or things you'd like to see in my reviews, I would love to hear from you, so please comment down below as well. And if you have any questions just in general about knives or ideas that you have for the channel, I would love to hear from you as well. I do try to answer every question and reply to it, folks. I definitely go out of my way to try to do that, so just want to let you know that. But again, if you find this content fun, interesting, worthwhile, would you please consider hitting the like button, hitting the like for this video? I sure would appreciate that. And if you've already liked the video, would you consider maybe subscribing to my channel? It really helps me a lot. It helps me to produce more content. And if you've already hit the subscription, maybe hit that notification button so you can be notified of upcoming content. And then if you've already subscribed, maybe check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. That's robs_nerdy_knives on Instagram. I sure would appreciate that. Thanks so much, and have a great day and a great week. Bye.